right, lovely. Got a couple more people coming in here, so we'll just give it a couple minutes and see who ends up joining us live here. For anybody who has not attended a tips and tricks webinar thus far, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Brandy, and I am the support team lead here at Details. And today we are going to be going over some of the newest releases here in Details, a lot of which everybody has probably had the chance to go in and look at, but we are going to be looking at least one of the newer features that is only available to our beta testers at the moment. So anybody who is not a beta tester has not seen this particular new feature. So we're going to go over that. And at the end of our class today, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to go over anything again. Or of course, if you have any questions that don't pertain to the topic today, you can certainly send me an email at brandy@detailsflowers.com. You're also going to get a follow-up email in a few days with the recap video and just some additional helpful information about everything that we covered today. So again, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach back out on that. Otherwise, like I said, we're going to have a Q&A at the end. So feel free at that point to ask any questions that you might have. And certainly don't be afraid to ask. I also have Avery here. She's going to be manning the chat. So if you guys have any questions as we're going through things and you want to go ahead and just jot that question down, you can go ahead and put that into the chat there. And then of course, we'll get to that question as we come. So I'm going to give it probably about another minute here just to see who else wants to join us. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. But I hope that everybody is off to a fabulous Wednesday today. We are halfway through the week. Hello, Debbie. Thanks for saying hi there in the chat. All right, so in that case, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, so we should all be seeing my recipe gallery here. There we go. And I am inside of an event right now. So one of our most recent updates that we did was actually here in the recipe gallery. If you guys have been following along with our emails and opening those when we send them out, you will have noticed that you got an email about the updates here in the recipe gallery. So a little bit of a backstory here on the recipe gallery. Prior to this update, anytime that you were to create a recipe from scratch here in the recipe gallery, it would calculate your costs for the items that were included, but your markup and price would not be adjusted here in the recipe gallery automatically, as it would take on the markup once you got to the worksheet itself. Again, it would also then update prices and costs depending on what the prices and costs were on that particular worksheet. So the only thing that you really had here in the recipe gallery was going to be your total costs. And then of course, if you chose to put in a specific markup or a specific price, you could certainly save that here in the recipe gallery as well. With our newest update though, we've added a couple of different things. So one of which is when you go in here and you create a recipe, it's going to start off with a markup of 300. So we tried to get a median, if you will, for what the industry standard was, which I would recommend that you go at least 300, if not more. But of course, depending on your area, what you're buying your products for and things like that is going to fluctuate markup for each different florist. So what we started off with is a 300% markup. Again, anything that you wanted to change that to, you certainly could. You would just go in and type in the markup box. And it is now also going to calculate your price as well. So let's go ahead and go into our edit button, which you may have noticed has moved to the bottom of our modal here. prior to the update, you would have seen a save button here, an edit button, a delete button up here at the top of the modal. But now you're going to see that those are showing at the bottom here. So just to keep in mind there. When we go into the edit panel here, everything looks primarily the same, but there are some significant changes. So like I said, the markup and price is going to calculate based on the item cost that you have for the items that you included here in this particular recipe. However, if I go in here and let's say I change my markup to 400, it's going to automatically adjust my price here. Same thing if I were going to, let's say, adjust my costs. So if I go in here and I'm going to put in my costs here, I'm going to have the option to update my price. So you'll notice that we now have these two little icons here. The one here at the bottom is going to be for your price. So it's going to let you know that the ingredient costs have changed. And then click here to update the price. So if you wanted to update your price there, you can, but you certainly don't have to. So now this kind of gives you the option of whether or not you wanted to do that, or if you wanted to keep it the same. So I am going to go ahead and move on to our markup here, which is going to be this little orange triangle. And then that's going to let you know that the calculated markup is not the same as the saved markup. When we talk about the saved markup in this situation, it's just going to be whatever you had previously saved there in the markup field. So if you don't want to keep that markup, you can certainly ignore that orange triangle. If you wanted to revert back to the original saved markup, you'd want to click on that triangle there. So just to see this in action here, so my ingredient costs have changed because I went down here and I changed my ingredient quantities. So I can click here to automatically update that price to the $452.50. So just a couple of different options there for you guys to update those. On the images here for the recipe gallery, previously they would look exactly like they are now. However, we've now added the option, if you hover over one of the items, you'll see our new little magnifying glass here for you to go in and click to enlarge the photo. So this is going to be really great if you're sitting with your client, you're doing that consultation, or if you're doing an online consultation with your client as well. So you'll be able to click into the different ingredient images and say, you know, these are some of the items that are going to be included in this recipe here. And it'll just give you an additional option there to show the client as far as this is what is going to be in your event, and they'll be able to see that on a larger scale. The same thing here with our recipe photo. So again, you can click on that and that's going to bring up that recipe photo, and it'll allow you to just show your client a nice larger view of what that recipe is going to look like. All right, so those were some of the larger changes here. We've got some smaller changes here as well. So the first of which is going to be this copy list. So if you guys are familiar with, on the worksheet, we have a copy list button right above the description area. So this is for you guys to go in and put that easy description in there that's just listing out the ingredients that are included, rather than spending time to create a nice, beautiful description before they've even booked you. So, you know, we're looking to save some time, but also wanting to give them some additional information here. This is a great option for a starter description. So you can copy that ingredient list, and then of course you'll just paste that right into the description. If you wanted to use this for anything else other than the description, you can certainly do that as well. It's just going to simply copy that list for you to paste wherever you'd like it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save. And that is going to be the overall updates here in the recipe gallery there. If anybody has any additional questions about those particular updates, feel free to put that into the chat. And then we'll also be sending some follow-up support center articles about that as well. All right, so I now want to move on to a section that, like I said, only our beta testers have gotten to see yet and utilize. So anybody who is not part of our beta testing group, this is going to be brand new for you. If you are part of our beta testing group, you'll be able to go in and utilize this at your convenience. We're looking to implement this probably about next week or the week after for the remainder of our customers. So let's go ahead and get into it. This section is going to be located under the financials in the payments page. So that's going to be where you would traditionally find your payment schedule. So how many payments are we taking? What increments are we taking? Is it an amount or percentage? How many days out from the event are we doing? So this page is going to primarily look the same in most aspects. However, we've added a bunch of new functionality here that's really going to allow you to create more custom payment schedules for your client and to make your life easier. So we'll start with the smaller things. Down here at the bottom, that checkbox for your credit card is now going to be a toggle option. So you can just toggle that yes or no. You're also going to see our show deleted buttons are now just a simple eye icon rather than saying show deleted. So just some minor cosmetic changes there. The next thing that I want to show you guys is going to be something that some people are going to use all the time and some people are not. So right now, as it stands, in your due column here for each one of your payments, you're gonna put in the days out before the event, right? So 60 days prior, 30 days prior, etc. But we got a lot of feedback from people that wanted to do days out from now or the date that I sent the proposal. So, you know, maybe they have 2 weeks to pay that retainer, or they've got a week to pay that retainer, or something to that effect. So now in our due column, we have added in some additional functionality here for you to be able to create that payment schedule. So what you would do is now plus 14, and then that would put in your date there. So 14 days from now is going to be June 8th. You can also do that same process with weeks, months, or the days. So for example, if I wanted to do now plus 2 weeks, it would be the same date there. So you can do that with any one of your different payments, and that's going to allow you to create a schedule from the date that you're sending the proposal rather than from the date prior to the event. To keep in mind, this is going to be an option only here on the event payments area, so it's not yet in your company settings, but that is something that we plan to do in the relatively near future. So you'll be able to set up your default schedules like this as well going forward after we release that next update. So for now, you can do that here on the payments page for your event. We've also got some additional things like you can do subtract days, or you can add days. So if you wanted to do things like event minus 60 days, you could do that. That's going to be the same as if you were doing, let's say, just the 60 days here. But if you wanted to keep everything kind of uniform and utilize those different key factors there, you can certainly do that. But the main goal here was to give you guys the ability to do things from the date that the proposal was sent. And so now you can. We will be sending out some additional information about this, this particular feature to anybody who is on our main server. So anybody who's not part of the beta testing group, and you'll get that once we make the full release, so you can get a little bit more information on that. Anybody who is a beta tester, you would have gotten that email already, but we will also include some information about that in our follow-up email. The next thing that we're going to look at is going to be our magic wand here. So this is going to help you to adjust the different fields here for your prices. So for example, if I have a mix of flat amounts or percentages, but I wanted to make everything a percentage, I can say make all payments percentages, and it would adjust that. The same thing with make all payments amounts. It's going to adjust that. And this will do that automatically. Additionally, if you have something that, let's say, doesn't add up to your grand total, that magic button is going to give you an option to adjust all to an equal grand total. So that's going to change out all of your different quantities here. Same thing if I'm doing percentages. So let's just say I'm doing all percentages here and I wanted to do 20, 20, and then I only did 30 for the last one, right? So I'm only at 70% here for my total. So if I wanted to adjust my percentages to equal 100, then that magic button is there for me to do that. It's going to make the adjustment based on the current percentages. So right now, if I had 20, 20, and 30, that 30% payment is going to increase. And then the 20% payment is going to increase a little bit less. So right now, it's still going to keep that same ratio, if you will, between the different payments, but it's going to adjust it based on, you know, if you wanted it to be all percentages, all flat amounts, or if they don't equal the grand total, you can adjust that there as well. All right, so then we have, if I right click on the type column here, I've got a couple of different options. The options are going to vary based on if you have a percentage payment that you clicked on or if you had a flat amount that you clicked on. So in this case, I have for my percentage, if I want to convert it to a flat amount, I can convert it to the total after other flat amounts are taken out. And then I can also choose to do it to the grand total. In this case, both of those options are going to be the same, but in most cases, they wouldn't. You can also choose then to adjust your other percentages to 100%. So that way, if I'm changing this to a flat amount, my other percentages are going to increase to compensate for that 100% grand total. So I'm going to go ahead and click that convert, and you'll see that my percentage-based payments here, the percentage increased to accumulate that entire 100%. The same thing if I'm doing an amount to a percent, I can right click on that. And then again, it's going to ask me if I want to adjust my other percentages and then convert that into a 29%. So if I click on the convert button, again, it's going to convert all of my payments there back to percentages, and then it's going to compensate to make 100% for my total amount of percentage-based payments. So just to recap here, we've got our due column, which will now allow you to do days out from the date that you send the proposal, or now as it's normally known here in details. You also have your right click here to convert any flat amount to a percentage or percentage to a flat amount. And then of course you have your magic button. Depending on the type of payments that you have here, you're going to get varying different results. There's 4 total options, and not all of them are going to ever show up at once. So if you have all percents, it's only going to give you the option to make all payments amounts. Vice versa for if you have all amounts and then making them all percents. If there's something unaccounted for or your percentage-based payments don't add up to 100%, then you'll get those options here as well. All right. So those are some new options that we have here on the payments page. If anybody has any questions about that, please feel free to add that into the chat there. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to a couple of our other options that we have. So I'm going to give it just a minute. Anybody has any questions on either of the 2 that we just discussed? All right. In that case, I'm going to go ahead and head over to my worksheet where we can see one of our newest options. This is something that I did go over in a previous tips and tricks webinar. So it's been out for a little bit now, but we do still get questions on if this exists here in detail. So I just wanted to go over it again and let you guys know the update cost feature that we added here on the worksheet. So if you have an item that you have updated in price, so for example, if I go into my amaranthus here and I'm going to go in and let's just say I'm going to update it to $2. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and refresh my page here. All right, so now here at the top, we have our grand total. And then right next to that, we're gonna see kind of a circle with a money sign inside. So what this is going to do is if I have an event, especially those events that let's say you've been planning for months and months or even, a year beforehand, you have items that are definitely going to increase in price between now and then. So if you haven't made your finals on this, if you haven't, given that bride that final, this is, the remaining balance for everything, you want to come in, you want to update these items to the current market price, you can come in and click on this button. What this is going to do is it's going to show you everything on this worksheet that may have changed. So right now I only have this one amaranthus item, but if you have multiple items, you're going to see them all listed down here. You can select either individual items to update, or you can click on the update button here at the top to select them all at once. If I click on this button and I select update worksheet, what that means is anywhere that I'm using that amaranthus is now going to be updated from $1.50 to $2. And it's going to do that throughout the entire worksheet. And then any item that I put on here afterwards of that same item is going to come in with that same cost. So it's just a quick and easy way for you to come in here and update your cost without saying, okay, well, I quoted this bride $1.50 on the amaranthus, but now I'm seeing it consistently for $2. I need to go in and make sure that every event that I'm using that item in is going to be updated. That's going to be a nightmare. So what I would recommend is to go in and when you get onto your events themselves, you'll see that icon in the top bar there, and then you'll be able to see what items have changed. How much of a change is it? Do I want to go ahead and change this on this worksheet because I haven't made finals on this and they haven't made their final payment or anything like that, so I want to update them. Of course, if there's any events that you don't want to update it, they've already paid their final payment, it's done, we don't want to update that. Certainly you don't have to update it, but it's there as an option so that you can make sure you're staying within your margins and accounting for all of those price increases that we've been seeing lately. All right, so then one of our last things that we're actually going to go over today, and we're going to have a short webinar today. At the very bottom of our main menu here, you're going to see a premium features button. Right now in this particular account, it's not going to show. A lot of your accounts, you're probably thinking, well, I didn't see that in my account. But if you are, that means that you don't have the features. If you are not seeing that button, like we don't see it here on my screen, that means that you're not, that you already have those premium features. For anybody that doesn't know, we have premium features that we are now offering here at Details. So those two features are going to be our form builder, which we'll take a look at here in just a second. And then also you can create a custom subdomain. So a subdomain is going to be something that will host both your proposal PDFs and then also your forms if you're connected with the form builder. So this is going to allow you to create additional branding and familiarity with your clients by giving them a link that you customized. So when you have that link, you're going to be able to put in, let's say, your company's name .floral.events, and then it's gonna that's going to be the link that you're going to send off to your client for that PDF. So if you're interested in that, you're going to see that listed in the premium features area. And then of course we also have our new form builder. Jen, I see your question and I will come right back to it. On the form list here, this is where you're going to be able to make forms right here within details. So as a florist, or really many businesses that take orders from clients, you're going to want an intake form. And that intake form is then going to, pull information into this item or this or this. So whether you're going to be making, let's say, a retail arrangement, or you're doing events like you would do here in details, or some other product, you're going to want to have that inquiry form. One of the best things about our form here in details is that once you make the intake form, then you can have that hosted on your website via a link. So for example, let me go ahead and go into this particular form. And you can have this link that you see listed up here in the URL bar, and then you can host that on your website. So if you have a website and you want to host that on there, you'll just copy the link. You can embed that into a button or an image, or depending on how your website is coded and set up, there are varieties of different ways that you can add that into your website. And then, of course, they would come to a page that you would be able to customize with a background, have your logo on it. You get to select the questions that they're asked on the form and customize that completely. You can also pick different colors here for your form. So, for example, my little time icon here, my calendar icon, I can choose those colors. I can then go in and decide if I want this to be mapped into an event. So when I say mapped into an event, what I mean is to move all that data, all the information and responses that this person has had, and move that right into an event, so you're not having to manually enter everything. So if you're interested in learning more about those two features and you don't already have them, then you will see on your main menu an option that says Premium Features, and you'll be able to sign up for that there. Additionally, if you have any other questions on the form builder, I would be happy to answer that for you. It is one of our newest features, and we're definitely thrilled to get some feedback on that. So if you do end up signing up for our form builder option, just feel free to let us know what you think. And that concludes all of our newer features that were added into details recently. It does look like Jen here has a question. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, thank you. Yes, we're excited about the form builder too. Okay, so Jen says, how are you recommending dealing with rising flower costs? Are you putting it in a contract that things could go up a certain percentage, and then you can go in and update the prices before the wedding? What percentage are we thinking things will go up? Okay, so I think this is probably one of the hotter topics right now within the industry. And the truth of it is, no one really knows how much it's going to go up. Worldly events and natural disasters and other contributing factors, of course, will decide how things are going to fluctuate. But overall, what I would say as a business owner, the best thing that you can do for yourself is put it into your contract that things could go up. You'll want to get with an attorney on that. So I don't want to give you any kind of information on what you should say in that, but just some clause that would outline, the possibility of things changing, and that you have the right to make those updates within, I don't know, a certain percentage. And then you can certainly do it that way. Like I said, I would definitely get somebody who is a legal professional to write that and put it in there, but yes, something to that effect. And then the other thing that I would say is, because we don't know how much flower costs are going to go up, and because it is somewhat of a great unknown and one of the things that is the driving force to our businesses, I would recommend that you go into your items and overprice them. I don't mean like change a $3 item to $5 or anything like that, but I think that you should give yourself a good amount of leeway to where if that particular flower rises 25 cents within the next, let's say, 6 months, you're already going to be compensating for it. So I would say to definitely go in and adjust your costs. I would say updating them depending on the flower, anywhere from 10 cents to $1.50 or so per stem, again depending on the flower. And that way, no matter what happens as far as the fluctuation, you should be covered. My recommendation would actually be that you do both of those things. So that way, if you quote somebody $2 and then it ends up being $1.75, you're lucking out good either way. But of course, if you quote somebody $2 at the time, it's $1.75, and then when you go to order that product, it's $2, you're going to be very thankful that you updated that price. So that's kind of what I would say, is to prepare yourself for the inevitable, to go ahead and yes, put something in your contract that says, that you can update things. As a consumer, I would say that it's going to need to be worded in such a way that there's somewhat of an end cap. You're going to get a lot of people that would be hesitant to sign something that says we can update it to whatever we want. But I think that, if you have like a percentage-based goal, that would be a little bit more appealing to somebody. And then also, of course, those changing the costs. But overall, I would say transparency is key. With your customers, and just letting them know, like everything else in the world, and everybody is, certainly aware of the rising prices of not only flowers, but all of our daily essentials and things, that there is a possibility things would increase. All right. Thank you, Jen. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions today before we kind of close everything out? Going to give you guys just a couple of minutes here, and if anybody wants to like turn on their mic and say something too, you can certainly can. But while we're waiting, just to see if anybody says anything, I just want to remind everyone that there will be a recap video with a recap email. And then in that, I am going to put in our support center articles for all of these new features. If you're like me, you could be sitting here listening to me talk, but next week it's not going to be fresh in your mind. So we're going to go ahead and just make sure that all of those resources are there for you to look at and kind of get familiar with. And then, of course, if you have any other questions about the new features, or really just anything within the software that you wanted to ask, feel free to reach back out to us. As a reminder, while we have some people here, we are going to be out of the office on Monday. That's going to be Memorial Day. So we will be out of the office observing that holiday and remembering our fallen heroes. But overall, I thank everyone for taking some time out today to learn a little bit more about our new features. And I hope that you all have a very safe and happy Memorial Day, and that you guys have a wonderful rest of your week where you have tons and tons and tons of orders. Thank you everyone for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.